What is going on, guys, and welcome to another video on F125. Today it's a more basic, less driving focused video. We are talking about game settings because especially on PC you can maximize a lot, but also on console you can do a few things here and there. I'm gonna share everything, my wheel settings, my Simucube settings, also calibration settings that you can fine tune in the game, in the F125 game. So let's jump right into it. We're starting off obviously with the assist. This was just right after the assist video. I'm using Elite, it's all assists turned off. And moving on to on-screen display, I actually haven't turned this on for a while, but the full track map makes more sense than the minimap, especially if you go racing. You see actually on the minimap when people are pitting, so you can calculate more, okay, where are you gonna come out? Are you gonna come out in traffic? Like if someone ahead of you pitted and some others maybe went for the undercut, are they coming out ahead or behind or whatever? Just to track a few things here and there. I would keep the delta time on, but all of these things are preference. Also the virtual rearview mirror. I used it a couple of times, but it's quite big. You can adjust it with the OSD customization, which I haven't touched yet. It can make the game look more cleaner, but at the moment I'm running the default. If something bothers you, you can move it around, but you always need to keep in mind on the OSD. I will show you that you have to select for each game mode, like race, quali, practice, time trial. It's very annoying. I don't know why there's not a general setting, and that's something that they should definitely upgrade in the future because I don't think they changed it here either. The permanent session time is very important. For practice not so much, but for qualifying. So when you're out on track, if you have this turned off, only the last 5 minutes will have a countdown in the top right corner. But with this turned on, you have it throughout the whole session. So from 18 minutes until the time is over. We are going to the force feedback settings, generic settings, ERS mode on toggle, not hold. I used hold for a while. At the moment I'm using toggle. So toggle means you press it, it's on, you press it again, it's off. Hold is literally you press it and then the overtake button gets activated. That's all down to what you like. But now we are getting into, well, my custom button customization thing. It's irrelevant to you guys. This is the wheel that I'm using. It's very cool. It's the actual Mercedes-AMG F1 steering wheel from Simlab. I will still do a review for that. There's also a little tag here somewhere that it's an official Mercedes product. These button mappings, they are all custom. Do it whatever feels right to you. Think about things that are more important, like you can also set up quick button fixes, which some people don't know about it, where you can change brake bias without actually going into MFD. So when you just press this button, it changes increase, decrease, also differential ERS mode can be very useful if you do not like to always flick it with a stick or buttons on your steering wheel. But yeah, everything else, just map it how you like it. Not important bit, calibration. I've seen Jano's guide as well. He's using brake linearity on 25, that's the default. But I don't like the linearity on any... I just have it basically. I have everything mapped in my Simucube active pedals and whatever, so I don't need this. I just have everything on 0. If you have a little bit of input here, when you rest your foot on the brakes and you have an input, that's not good. So if you have an input, increase the dead zone just about where you usually rest your foot, that the input is still 0. But you also don't want to have the dead zone too much because then you cannot trail break the final bit of like the percentage, and then it's like quite difficult to get this last bit of braking right. Then we go to the force feedback settings. I've got everything on 0. You can leave these maybe like on 10. Here I wouldn't go higher than 5, also for the off track. And pit stop effects, I don't need that. Like, this is the maximum. If you feel like you're lacking a little bit of feedback, usually, I mean, depends on your wheel as well. I don't know about a Logitech or something, if the feedback is so bad that you need something more there. For me, this is fine. I still get effects from the curbs. If I have more on the road, like my wheel just goes shaky because I have 25 Newton meters. Total force feedback on 65. Sometimes I feel like 60 on 60. Sometimes I feel like 65 is better. 70 was already too strong. I sometimes had it on 80. You also need to get a feel, because if you have it too high, then at some point the wheel just starts clipping. And clipping is the term that once you reach a certain like threshold and you're going too fast through the corner and the force applied from the base is too strong and it can't cope with it, it's clipping and you lose all feedback. And I don't want that. I want consistent feeling, so it's better to have a little bit less force feedback, just my opinion. Wheel damper I have on 1. You can turn it to 0 as well. Some people like it, some people don't like it. It just simulates that your tires have a little bit of weight. If you don't have that, the steering wheel is quite easy to turn. With this, it's a bit smoother, but it's also a bit less accurate. So you lose a bit of accuracy from having this on. So if you have it too high, You can try it, put it to 100 and then put it to 0 and you will feel immediately a difference. And I don't need to explain it to you. It's the easiest way to try it. My wheel rotation is on 360. It's the native in the game, so I'm just running this. Then next up, graphics settings. I'm running gamma adjustment on 90. I've heard that, I think Arava is using that from Tom97. That's a good trick because it's a bit overexposed. So 90, I think it looks nicer. Motion blur just makes the game look a little bit more cinematic and faster. I have it on at the moment, but you can turn it off. It doesn't cost you any performance, to be honest. Steering animation, turn it on or off. I think it's a shame that you can't turn the full steering wheel off. This here first, so I'm using at the moment the high preset or ultra high with ray tracing turned off because it's just killing the FPS and stability. Particles also turned off. I got the tip from Jano and also remember that from the past that if you have particles turned on, then you have these huge brake lockups, especially online. When people lock up, you have a smoke cloud and you don't need that. I don't have an NVIDIA Reflexon. I don't know if it's helpful or not. I have an NVIDIA graphics card, so maybe I should turn it on. I need to test that, but at the moment this is what I'm running. So GeForce RTX 4090, not the newest gen, but a very good graphics card. Then I'm having 32-inch monitors with 140/40p. VSync always have that off because it kills your latency. Refresh rate, put it to the max. Frame rate limit, you can have it on or also off, but just don't lock it to 60. 60 is not the fastest anymore. Now, if you have more FPS, technically it's better. It's just smoother. But you can limit it obviously to your refresh rate, so it can't have crazy spikes unless you run insane graphic settings and then it spikes up and down. Anisotropic filtering on 16x. Anti-aliasing, I have it on NVIDIA DLSS, but I liked in the past this year as well. It makes the game look a little bit sharper. I used it until now, but I'm trying the NVIDIA DLSS again because it's a native in the game. Usually they are trying to recommend you what's good. Also, if you don't like raindrops, I think you can turn it off by turning weather effects to completely off and particles as well. I think it's only the particles. Like if you turn this off, you don't have the raindrops in the rain on your camera. The audio settings, I usually put it to 4. Music I even turn lower because listen to this. Man, I want to talk. Then you can change everything here to your liking. Onboard mix, I currently have broadcast. Cinematic, I like as well. Engineer ducting, I have on light. This is important that you put performance to ultra low. I could not tell any difference. I can't. If you guys can tell me the sound is much different on ultra high compared to ultra low, I might already be deaf or something. I don't know. Always put mute by default on. And push to talk as well, otherwise you're talking in the public lobbies. You can put this here, formation lab parking sensor. I think that's quite useful when you park in the grid slot. Upshift tone, I don't think that's necessary. Radio verbosity, if you don't like the engineer in the game talking to you all the time throughout every single lap in qualifying and stuff, put it to responses only. He will still talk sometimes, but rarely. Like he will still tell you when there's damage or pit stop window or something, I think. But unless you request something from him, he's just gonna be quiet. Put this to theme if you're a streamer, otherwise you get copyright striked. We've got all of these things covered. Now we actually have to head on track, so I can show you the OSD customization stuff and also my personal camera settings. So this is how it looks, right? These are my camera settings. I have -20 field of view, but also I feel like I need that because I'm sitting quite far away from the monitor. The further you sit away, the more you need to reduce the field of view to make it seem accurate. You can also run whatever, like it's gonna be feeling much faster. I cannot drive like that, man. This is weird. It's a bit easier if you just put it to like something between -10 and -20, depending on what you're comfortable with. So I use -20 field of view here, blah blah blah. Just copy it, guys. Camera shake and camera movement, I would turn it off for consistency, so it doesn't move, it doesn't vibrate unnecessarily, it just makes it easier to spot. Angle, usually -20. And for a somewhat realistic feeling, in the cockpit view, I've put this here. It needs even a bit more angle, I would say, because then it's kind of aligning with what I'm seeing. If I'm looking straight, I'm looking literally right at where the halo is kind of transparent, which obviously, if you drive in cockpit cam, you want to feel like you're in an F1 car. Please turn off look to apex limit. That just moves the in-game head. It feels unnatural. On-screen display, customization here, this stuff. You can see in the bottom, layout, time trial. So if I set these things up, if I change them, like you can literally move everything you want. Like you see this, I can move that technically anywhere. I can change the size and I can change everything to my liking. But if you want that, you need to do it for each layout. So you see in the bottom left, layout, time trial. Now it's elimination mode. Now it's race mode. Now it's qualifying. Now it's practice. Now it's time trial again. You need to do it for each one, because there's different ones, like there's different stuff in time trial on the screen, different in elimination, different in race, and different qualifying and practice because of these objectives and whatever. The most important thing is put the track map to full, please. Yeah. With the full track, you see every single dot on the minimap, and with the minimap, you can then predict, okay, where am I gonna come out? Use the MFD and that together, and you're gonna be well better with adapting to strategies and stuff like that. Before we end the video, I actually forgot something. We have forgotten to talk about my Simucube settings, and I'm very sorry for that. So I use the Simucube 2 Pro. I use 3 active pedals. I don't use the clutch for the F1 game. I currently have my max strength on 100%, so that means 25 newton meters, 360 range. With the rest of my settings, the mechanical feel, the damping, like I said, it adds a bit of weight in general. With the friction, you basically, I think, only add initial weight. So if I turn this up, like the initial turn-in is, I don't know, it feels sticky. But basically, if you put it to 0, the wheel can spin freely. There will be a lot of oscillation from force feedback, so you kind of always want to run something. These filters are quite important for some games. I feel like on 3 or 4 it's okay for the F1 game. It kind of reduces and smoothens out the rough force feedback. It goes hand in hand with the slew rate, so if you have it on 0.1 there's barely any feedback. 3 sometimes gives a lot of vibration, so I think 4 is probably best. Torque bandwidth, I have it on maximum, why not? The advanced setting, I have static force reduction on 10. That is whilst cornering. Only when you're in corners, if you pull it up, there's like, it reduces the force feedback. Ultra low latency, I have it on 20. Torque linearity, I didn't change that. Bump stop feel, that is just for like when you hit the end, you can see there's like, it's very hard to go over this, over the 360 degrees, but when it's soft, you can see I can push it more. Notch filter, I don't use. Game effect, I have on 100. If you have, for example, the damping filter, it will be 100%. If I have it on 1, it will be 1. If I have it on 2, it will be on 2. If I increase that, obviously it will have a boost. Same with the friction spring and everything else. Let's talk about my brake settings. I have a little dead zone, so it activates at 2.5 kg. I have a preload of 2.4. If you have it on 0, what I saw, like you can see it's moving around a little bit already from nothing. So I want a little bit of a preload, just so there's some weight on the pedal, not too much, because actually like pedals in real life, they are quite loose and there's quite a bit of movement there. The dead zone I increased a little bit because when I told you in 1 or 2 videos ago that I'm losing random time on the straights, I realized I'm sometimes holding the brakes. I've been just by 1%, and that's already enough to lose like half a tenth down the straight, and you're like, what? I have a linear brake trace and the maximum kg force is 110, so I need to push in 110 kg to reach 100%. If I go above that, obviously it will still be 100%. Pedal travel, I made it similar to what it felt like in most race cars that I've driven. The 24 felt like the brake that I drove on a Radical. Then for the damping, I have actually damping on 10%, just because I feel like on the Simucube, I don't know, it feels too soft. There needs to be some weight, but a little bit of damping on both ends feels right to me. And stop feel I have soft, but I don't mind hard either. Friction, similar thing, but I don't use it. I actually use ABS, motor vibrations, and brake lockup. These things don't work on the F1 game, but on other games they work. So now talking about the throttle, I have a travel of 46 millimeters, quite long. But honestly, when I sat in Lewis Hamilton's car back in 2023 at Spa, I think there was even more travel. The pedal's very long. So if you want an F1 car pedal and want to replicate what Lewis Hamilton is doing, you just want to have huge amounts of travel. I also have quite a lot of damping here. Damping also for me adds some weight, but not like additional kg weight. It just feels like there's some weight and it needs to be a bit smoother. I don't know, the Simucube Ultimates, they are amazing, but if you don't have damping, it feels very cheap to me. But you don't want too much on damping release because the pedal just shoots back quite quickly. I have a little bit of a preload again, just so not too much bouncing at the bottom. 11.3 kg to reach 100%, super light. And I have a little bit of a dead zone at the end, just because sometimes, you know, with a lot of travel, if you sometimes move your foot just slight bit, you might not be on 100% anymore. I don't want to strain my foot too much. Damping, I told you already. Motor vibrations, I have only that on. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to smash the like button. If you want to see more insights into what I'm doing on Sims, then let me know in the comments below. Hope you learned something from it and have a lovely day. You're Marcel. Peace.